Welcome into a Spits and Suds one-timer on 105.3 The Fan. I'm Gavin Spittle. Thank you so much for joining us. Really, really cool tilt at the American Airlines Center on Thursday night as the Stars welcome the Winnipeg Jets in a very meaningful game from both sides. And joining us is Michael Remis of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And I'm a big fan of Winnipeg Sports Talk. You can catch it on YouTube. You can go to Twitter/X, start to follow it. Everything you want to know about the Jets, it's a great follow. Some great guys on there, used to appear on their radio show, and it's great to have you and talk to you again, Michael.
Yeah, thanks so much, Gavin, for having me. I really appreciate it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Jets match up against the Stars tomorrow night. The Stars really have had the Jets' number so far this season, and even going back to last year. So this is going to be a big test for them as we approach the playoffs here.
Yeah, I wanted to get your perspective because I like hearing, we obviously talk about the Stars on a daily basis, but from an outside perspective, what do you see about this Dallas Stars team that impresses you?
They're really deep. You look at their forward lines, and I think you're not really sure from night to night which line's the first line, which line's the second line. I mean, Wyatt Johnson's got 30 goals. Like, is he on the third line, or what? Is that the second line?
We
Like
don't
Matt
even know.
Duchene? Yeah, Matt Duchene. I mean, he's having an incredible year. So I think what stands out for me is for sure the forward depth. I mean, all around defense, you have number one and Heiskanen. You know, they made the trade for Tanev. I think they've got three really good pairs. I think goaltending maybe not what it's been in the past, but this is a very deep team and definitely scary to go up against in the playoffs, and that's why they're first in the Central Division right now.
Let's start with the goaltending. I'm glad you brought that up because I tell Stars fans, if you're worried about Jake Oettinger, it's understandable. But let's look at Connor Hellebuyck a few years ago. Didn't have the greatest of seasons, Connor Hellebuyck like Jake Oettinger has struggled at times, but bounced back to what I believe is the best goalie in hockey. So take us back to then, and has he talked about any adjustments, or was it just a bad year, or was it the players in front of him?
I think it was the players in front of him. Since Rick Bowness has come in as head coach, they've really changed the Jet structure. They were giving up too many odd man rushes, 2-on-1s, breakaways, and it's going to be tough for a goalie when you're allowing a lot of those kind of chances and allowing a lot of shots from in tight. The last 2 years under Bowness, they've really cleaned it up, allowing less high danger chances, and it's allowed Hellebuyck to have a lot more success. He just stole a game yesterday for the Jets in Nashville, and his performance has definitely gone up as the team's defense has certainly improved. And we're watching here for them to go for the William Jennings Trophy for least goals against in the league, and they're neck and neck with Florida right now for that title. So I think team defense, and also a bit about Hellebuyck as well. He's always working on his game, but I think defense for sure a huge factor.
Was it a major lift when Scheifele and Hellebuyck signed at the beginning of the year? Because from an outside perspective, I think a lot of people were thinking that they'd be gone.
100%. That was our conversation all last season. What is going to happen here with Mark Scheifele? What is going to happen with Connor Hellebuyck? Are they going to have to trade one? Are they going to have to resign? You're going into this season, potentially, you could have been going in with two of your franchise guys on expiring contracts. We thought, there's no way they're going to be able to keep both, maybe one and trade the other. And which one are you going to keep? Those were the conversations we had all summer, all last season. There seemed to be so much turmoil around the team after the exit, just dominated by Vegas in that final game where Rick Bowness went off on the team's effort. And so to have that happen, it was on Canadian Thanksgiving. It was a shock, and I do think it gave a huge boost to the team. It said, hey, these guys are committed to the Winnipeg Jets. I think other players said, okay, we're all in this together. And I think it was certainly a rallying point and saying, hey, we're here to stay. This is our team. And I do think it gave a boost. And following up that, guys like Nito Niederreiter, he signed an extension as well. And I think it says, hey, the Jets are going to keep trying to be a contender. throughout these deals, and they're not looking forward to, looking to do a rebuild, which many thought they were going to have to if those guys weren't going to be here next year. So it was a huge moment for the franchise and both players as well.
We consider Kyle Connor a stars killer, and the flip side is we look at Brendan Dillon and say, quite the career, wish he was still in Dallas.
Yeah, Kyle Connor, I mean, he's a guy, he can score, he's a fast skater. He's a big scorer. He just scored 32nd of the year, the overtime winner yesterday. So you got to watch out for him. And I think Brendan Dillon, it maybe took him a bit to get going when they acquired him in the trade from Washington, but he brings a physical presence that they really, hadn't had on the blue line. I mean, he was tough to play against. He throws the body around. He's also contributed a lot offensively this year. He's got a career high 8 goals, 20 points as well. It's close to a career high, so it's going really well. And he's a free agent after this season, so a lot of questions too about him and Dylan DeMello as well, the two Winnipeg Jets defensemen that are going to be free agents after this year. So we're not really sure what's going to happen with Brendan Dillon, but I think he's had his strongest season so far with the Winnipeg Jets.
Michael, has there been chatter still regarding Paul Maurice going to Florida, Bones coming in, and just the transition? Is it still talked about in circles, or have people moved on?
I think maybe at the beginning of the year it was mentioned. The Jets they played the home opener against Florida, so that was going to come up. And I think they played Florida again early. Haven't heard too much. I think the Jets have really moved on from the Paul Maurice era this season. They bought out Blake Wheeler in the offseason, and I think that was really turning a page and then naming Adam Lowry as captain. So I think they've moved on, but I think, the Jets slide here. They came off a 6-game losing streak, and then they're now started a 4-game winning streak. I think there are some callbacks through the season to the Paul Maurice era where, Lod mentioned 2019, 18-19, the Jets had a great first half and then really fell off in the second half before losing to the Blues in the playoffs. And, a lot of callbacks to last year, where it was the first year of Rick Bowness, where they had a great first half and, not as good of a second half. But I think they've turned the page on the Paul Maurice. I think there's still, he was great, with the media. He did, was the coach of the best Jets team of 2.0 era, the 17-18 team. So I think there's a lot of fondness for him. Every time he has a memorable post-game quote with Florida, I think it gets attention here. But as far as the team, I think they've turned the page, and naming Adam Lowry and buying out Adam Lowry's captain and buying out Blake Wheeler was the start of that, or continuing.
Have you guys been talking a lot about winners of 4 in a row? Not big win last night. Are you guys talking about, as far as Colorado, do you want that home ice advantage?
Yeah, well, I think home ice advantage for sure. I mean, Colorado. I think one thing Colorado doesn't get talked about is the high altitude for sure. But for the Jets, even if they haven't had a lot of home success in the playoffs the last couple of years, I think you want to be at home. You want to have that extra game. I think Rick Bowness is very focused on matchups as well. They want to have the matchup advantage, getting that third line with Adam Lowry. It's been Nito Niederreiter, Mason Appleton against Nathan McKinnon line. Anyone, they want to make sure that those guys shut down the Avalanche top line. I think it would be a bit tougher if they didn't have that home ice advantage. And I think, stressing about who you're playing, the Jets certainly going for first earlier. They fell off. Dallas has pulled away. I see Dallas an impressive 9-1-0 in their last 10. But
yeah,
sorry, I just got a call. Yeah, I think whoever you play is gonna be very tough. So you just hope you can get the home ice. But I think it's gonna be what it's gonna be. No matter if against Colorado. So, but yes, home ice you like. And sorry, I got a call. I got distracted. Home ice you like, but I think any matchup is going to be tough.
Yeah, let's talk about the huge trade that happened to begin the season, and it's just been amazing for Winnipeg. And we've seen what Dubois has not done in LA. He's been a disappointment, but a guy that LA thought was a disappointment because of his draft position was Gabriel Valard. I think it was because of injury, but he has come to Winnipeg and made a big difference for you guys.
Oh man, he's been exceptional. Now he's battled some health issues this season. Had a knee injury. First in the first week against his former team. He was out recently. I don't know. They had some flu going around. He had a enlarged spleen for a bit, but he's back and he really makes a power play goal. It's amazing to watch him. He stands at the side of the net and he can either pass it back to Mark Scheifele, he can pass it into the slot to Sean Monahan. Or he can just take it himself. And you saw last night from the side of the net, scoring a beautiful goal in between the legs and putting over Preds goaltender UC Saros. Gabe Valard, when healthy, has been exceptional. He scored 20 goals. He goes hard in the corners. He's played on the top line all year and really has a huge impact on the power play. So, if it was just Dubois for Valard, I imagine they'd be very happy. But Alex Iafallo has played a huge role on this team this year. He's played on, just about on every line. He's currently on the fourth line, but they've moved him around. And Rasmus Kupari, he's been a healthy scratch lately, but Gabe Valard, it's been a great year for him. I think there were some concerns from LA about his ability to stay healthy. It's been a challenge for him. I don't think any fault of his own. Again, one of those was a cheap hit from a Kings player, but this trade has been excellent for the Jets. And we'll see what happens with the Kings, who are in a playoff spot as well. But I imagine the Jets would be very happy.
Yeah, I can't remember parity being so amazing in the NHL like it is this year, where the 8th team beating the first seed. Would I be disappointed if the Stars lose to Vegas? Yeah. But, would I be shocked? No, I wouldn't. They won the Cup last year. You've covered the NHL for a long time. You have the same thoughts. It's absolutely amazing that a Winnipeg Jets or a Colorado Avalanche have to play each other in the first round. Boston has to play Tampa if the season ended right now. It's actually causing kind of a little bit of chirping as far as let's just go back to the 1-8 format. Let's just quit. Let's quit with the interdivision playoffs because too many good teams are going to be out in the first round.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't understand why they went to this format. First of all, I think it's kind of confusing. It took me like a couple of years to figure out how to read the standings. It used to be just 1 versus 8. And we have a lot of people coming in our chat being like, how does this playoff format work? And I don't think you want that. And I don't think there's much of a reward right now if you're, in a tough division. So, Florida, you get second, you get Toronto. Meanwhile, the Metropolitan Division, they have 2 really good teams in Carolina Rangers, and a bunch of going to have a team with way less points in the Islanders getting third. So I think it's kind of confusing. I don't think this system works. I think you're getting these good matchups too early on, and again, there's not a lot of divisional play that I think you need to go to this format. I think the Jets played Dallas only 3 times last year in an 82-game season. So you're not playing a ton of divisional games. So I think, in the West, I just think there's too many good teams in the West. So I don't think it's like a huge factor, like a factor there. But in the East, it's been bad for years. I think Toronto's kind of gotten screwed because of their division. So I don't think we need to have the divisional format. They say it, quote, creates rivalries. I think they happen anyways.
Right.
No matter what. We don't need it. It's time to move on. It's run its course. And I don't know why they keep doing this. It seems silly to me. I think,
and granted, for us, moving to the Central is better. But when we were in the West, it's like you can't develop rivalries with 9:30 p.m. tilts when you're in the Central time zone, and it's kind of the same in the in the Central now, where it's like I guess the Minnesota Wild would be the biggest Stars rivalry, and when I have Joe O'Donnell on, the play-by-play guy for the Wild, I ask him about it. He goes, yeah, they think of the Stars, but Winnipeg's our rival. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, the Jets and Wild have had a big rivalry going back a couple of years. They met in the playoffs in the first round of 2018. There's a lot of proximity there. It's an 8-hour drive south from Winnipeg to Minnesota. So a lot of Jets fans do travel. And, there's some Wild fans that come here too from North Dakota. But the games that they've had, they've been heated, they've been physical, intense. There's been cheap shots, suspensions on both sides, injuries from those. And it definitely happened this year. Well, going back a couple years, but who was last year? Ryan Hartman, delivered I thought it was a dirty hit on Nikolai Ehlers. And then this year he slashed Cole Perfetti, the Jets' young forward, in the face. So there's certainly some bad blood. And they're not happy about Kirill Kaprizov getting injured from the Jets defenseman Logan Stanley last year. So there's certainly bad blood. I think it's a good rivalry, a good proximity, but I think that's closest. But, you might say the Jets' second biggest rival is Vegas, because Vegas has knocked the Jets out of the playoffs here last year and also in the conference final in 2018. So I think rivalries, they just happen. I don't think you can force them by forcing, a divisional playoffs. But that's interesting that you would pick Minnesota as Dallas's biggest rival, guys. They're in the same division, and Minnesota seems to have that abrasive style against no matter who they play.
Well, I think it's also maybe some Minnesota Wild fans, although, I mean, we're to the point now where the Stars have been here a long time, but they still remember the old North Stars, leaving, Norm Green, the owner, moving it to Dallas. So, but those times have kind of passed. But yeah, Dallas, other than that, really doesn't have a rivalry. And I don't know if it's geographic and they just, nowadays don't play someone enough. It was kind of Nashville got a little chippy, and then we had the outdoor game. So maybe it was Nashville, but that kind of ended quickly. It's I want the Battle of Alberta, my friend. That's what I want, because those games just bring on, like, when that's on hockey night in Canada, I'm like, all right, that's my Saturday night, late night.
Yeah, I think we've had that here with Minnesota, and it was nice they finished off the season series with the Jets sweeping them. And every game like that has been, every game with Minnesota has had that intensity. So it is kind of nice to have it all. I don't know if the Jets have that with Dallas yet. It's been kind of one-sided the last couple of years, but you're in the same division. You play a lot over the years. I think things just happen. So although Minnesota, I don't know about you, like, I don't think the Jets play that type of game against anyone. But Minnesota, I mean, you look at the NHL penalty minutes, they're up there among the league leaders.
Absolutely.
And I think they want that type of stuff, some of their players. So but I could talk about Minnesota for a long time here, Gavin.
Well, let's stay in the Central Division, because you retweeted an interesting tweet from Frank Saravelli today. Sources: NHL is drafting 2 schedule versions for next season, one with the Coyotes in Arizona, another with the relocated franchise playing in Salt Lake City. What do you think of that news?
Yeah, we've been speculating this for a long time. The Coyotes are playing in Mullet Arena, a college arena. They're supposed to do that for the next couple seasons. And Ryan Smith, the owner of the Utah Jazz, has made it very public about wanting to bring an NHL franchise there. And, normally the NHL doesn't like owners being public. I remember Jim Balsillie, with Blackberry, doing that with the Predators. I don't know how long ago that was. So I found it interesting that Ryan Smith has been so vocal. The Coyotes are trying to sort out their arena. They're on the they had the vote in Tempe last year that failed. They're trying to find land. Oh, they're waiting to go to buy land in an auction on June 27. This seems very last ditch, and I keep reminding myself of keeps reminding me of when Happy Gilmore tries to get back his grandma's house in an auction, and it's just such a far-fetched plan. And then you had the mayor of Scottsdale saying, "Hey, we're not going to support this with infrastructure." I don't know. It seems like the last gasp for the Coyotes, and Bill Daly did say earlier this year they are planning on having the Coyotes in, but to hear 2 versions of the schedule being drafted, I can't say I'm too surprised. There's been too many rumblings lately, and this Coyotes plan would have them playing in Mullet Arena for, I think, another couple seasons if they did get this land. So, we've talked a lot about finishing the story uh, in wrestling
Nice
the
Cody
last
Rhodes
couple of
reference.
years.
I saw that
Yeah,
you tweeted about wrestling. That's good.
I'm in, but I think the NHL needs to finish this Coyote story, whether it's in Arizona or somewhere else, because we've been talking about this arena for 14, at least 14 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And then and you've probably seen this in your city and will also see it where you have players that don't. I saw it in Houston. The Texans came about, Oilers had left, they go to Nashville. They didn't take on the old Oilers players, and Houston wanted to create their own identity, and therefore, Oilers players, they weren't even recognized. And I thought, very smartly put out a tweet today that this deal could include language that would allow the Coyotes to reactivate the franchise in future years, including name and trademarks. Would the Coyotes' records remain in Arizona, or would Salt Lake City start fresh? Curious what happens to Jets 1.0 records. And that is some serious NHL history as far as former Jets.
Yeah, and this has been something that I've brought up since the team moved back in 2011. I get it. For the Minnesota Wild, the North Stars, there's a different name, but now you have two names as Jets in the record books. And I always thought it was confusing, that the Jets 1.0 is part of the Arizona Coyotes. So I think selfishly, I'm watching this Coyotes move being like, okay, what is going to happen? Because I think for Jets fans, whenever you watch a broadcast or look at the records, you're hearing a lot about Ilya Kovalchuk. He's Teemu Selanne has the historic, rookie goal scoring record with the Winnipeg Jets. Well, that doesn't get recognized here. And then when I watch a Coyotes broadcast, they go down the list and they would bring up all Winnipeg Jets as all-time record holders for a number of, statistical categories. And look, Winnipeg fans, they don't care about what happened in Atlanta. I imagine Coyotes fans would rather market their own players that played there rather than what happens with the Winnipeg Jets. So that language is interesting. I believe similar language was with the Seattle Supersonics.
Mm-hmm.
If they were ever to get a team back, it would be the Supersonics. So I think that's something that's been interesting, that, the NBA's done a great job in terms of rearranging, quote unquote, history with the Charlotte Hornets, taking it back from 1.0 and went to the rename Bobcats. And the Cleveland Browns as well have their original history with the expansion team, and Baltimore Ravens were just basically starting from scratch. So I do wonder what would happen from there. It's something, I think I'm the only person who cares about this for trivia, but I think it would be nice. It's just always seems strange to me that they have the Dale Hawerchuk statue in Winnipeg. They have a number of Jets 1.0 players in the rafters, but if you go through the official Jets 2.0 record book, it's all players from Atlanta. I think it's confusing. I don't think it makes sense. And this is probably an afterthought in any sale and relocation discussion, but I do wish it's something the NHL would rectify.
Well, Wyatt Johnson just set a record for a 20-year-old, and here in Dallas, and it was pointed out, becomes the first Dallas star 20 years old. And then when you go to the NHL, you see that he joins Brian Bellows. And so we just faced it here. And my point is not to go on this pulpit, my friend, but my point is Brian Bellows was a hell of a player and put up some amazing stats as a youngster. I don't know why teams don't recognize players that were in their organization. If you want to move to another city, to me, you have to take that with you.
It's funny. I remember last year, Jason Robertson, but didn't he set a record for goals? And they did the same thing,
Yes.
The team tweeting out the most from a Dallas star. So I certainly get it, honoring the franchise. I just thought it got confusing here for the Jets, where you have, Winnipeg Jets 1.0 and 2.0. So I think I'm the only person who really cares and who's beat the drum about this. But I don't know if you play puck doku, but I think it is confusing for everyone when it says, okay, player for the Coyotes, and I just use, you have to use Jets. And if it's a Jets logo, you'd think you could use a Jets 1.0 player, but that only works for the Coyotes. So this is something that I guess I'm passionate about. Someone's got to beat this drum, and I will continue to do it.
No, you're absolutely right. Well, good to know that you're a wrestling fan. I do feel as though that was some of the best minutes ever in WrestleMania on Sunday night. Normally I don't jump from my couch, but I did. And that was pretty awesome. And then I quickly switched to Stars, Colorado, and that was also pretty awesome. So super excited about tomorrow night, my friend. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting game with the Stars having the ability to clinch the Central, yet the Jets with two major tilts. Dallas on Thursday night, and then a massive at the same time the Stars are playing, they take on Colorado. So fun couple of games for you guys.
Yeah, that first of all, that was an awesome Sunday. I did have multiple TVs going with that Stars Avs game on. I couldn't believe the goals, and yeah, that final however many minutes of that main event on Sunday was pretty awesome as well. So as far as the Jets, yeah, I think a big couple of games, they are trying to secure that home ice advantage. So the Stars have had their number this year. I mean, they're really poor showing last month in Dallas. I think they want to get revenge there. I don't think they played to their potential yesterday in Nashville, but were able to get a win. And Nashville really beat up on them in the middle of their 16-game win streak. So I'm curious to see what Winnipeg Jets team shows up tomorrow in Dallas. I think they're going to be hungry. And that's a big one with Colorado as they're battling for the home ice on Saturday before finishing up the season at home, 2 games, Seattle, Vancouver. So, big games to be determined on the seeding spot. We know they're going to be 2-3 Jets, Avs, most likely, but where is it going to start? That's the big one.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked, and I was just looking it up. We got to get Keith Tkachuk in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of those U.S. players from the 90s, early 2000s, like Keith Tkachuk, Jeremy Roenick, are 2 guys who have big career numbers. And I think as time is going, you're like, hey, why aren't these guys in? So I think you can certainly make a case for Tkachuk. 538 goals, over 1,000 points. Certainly one of the best U.S. players of all time, and maybe you put him in as a builder too, for his two sons making an impact with Florida and Ottawa now. But yes, Keith Tkachuk certainly a great in the NHL. And I do wonder if that case gets bigger as we go on. I mean,
he's on my list.
Pretty serious numbers.
Yeah, Verbeek's on my list. Almost 1,500 games in the NHL, over 1,000 points. That's kind of a fringe too. So I'd love to see some of those old timers get in, because to me, they define the game. And I just think if you'd watch Keith Tkachuk when he was on the ice, he was truly dominant at times. Just a force on the ice. My friend, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Good luck tomorrow night. Excited to join you guys on your show tomorrow. And it's always great to catch up. We'll have to talk some more wrestling in the future as well. Michael Remis, you're the man.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Gavin, for having me. It's great having you on, chat. I really appreciate the invite.
Yeah, once again, guys, check it out if you want to keep up with, and I encourage that. We talk about learning this great game. You want to keep up as far as the Central Division opponents, and the best way to do that is through Winnipeg Sports Talk. So give them a follow on social media. They'll give you a lot of information regarding the Jets, regarding the NHL, so it's a great follow. So that's going to do it for us. Another Spits and Suds one-timer. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan. Have a great day, everyone.